Saturday morning, I did an emergency podcast where I talked about Pat McAfee joining sides with Randy Orton. I said, everybody wants to react so quickly, and oh my God, this is the worst storyline ever, and F TKO and F Triple H. And then, seemingly over the next 3 days, the reaction Saturday morning, the reaction on Sunday, we go into Raw on Monday. We talked about Cody Rhodes cutting the promo at the end of SmackDown where he undresses Pat McAfee, calls him a Logan Paul wannabe without muscles. Basically, it says Ari Emanuel stuck his name into a business where it doesn't belong. And then we get to Raw on Monday night, and we get CM Punk cutting the promo on Mega Fee. We get the shot about Ari Emanuel to please lower ticket prices. We get the line about Roman Reigns eating dog food for an old man that treated him like crap. And so he had FU money and he had to go home. And then we have Michael Cole on commentary talking about the line that CM Punk used on Pat McAfee and how disappointed he is in Pat. And we have WWE bringing up the fact that business is not as hot as it was a couple years ago, and they're blaming Cody Rhodes for it. And there's a side that's blaming TKO for it. And it just makes you think, are we going to get a WWE Triple H, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk against a Team TKO led by possibly Dwayne The Rock Johnson of Randy Orton, Pat McAfee, maybe even Roman Reigns, the old school guys, if you will, that were champions, the veterans saying, hey, Cody Rhodes is ruining the business. CM Punk is ruining the business. Roman Reigns on the Pat McAfee show in January said he went home after WrestleMania 40. He wasn't going to come back. But Cody Rhodes was not a very successful champion, and now he's coming back to get the championship back. So we can take it off the hands of CM Punk so that he can be the tribal chief once again, so that he can rule WWE, so that WWE can get back to the way it was in 2023 with the ratings and the attendance. And when companies pour the wines like this, I always enjoy the storylines. I've always said that this new regime, if you will, under Triple H, and now there's a report out there by Brandon Thurston saying that Triple H and Vince McMahon were butting heads all the way before WrestleMania 39. And, who knows? It might be quite possible that the Janelle Grant thing was brought forth by Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, because we know, even going back to when Vince McMahon put himself on the board to sell WWE to TKO, that Triple H was not a fan of it, that Nick Khan was not a fan of it, that Stephanie McMahon was not a fan of it, that they wanted it to stay in the family business, that Triple H and Stephanie never wanted to sell to TKO, and now TKO is putting all sorts of sponsorships on the mat, and Ari Emanuel is saying that John Cena needs to turn heel because we need to sell more tickets for Elimination Chamber, and WrestleMania is not selling as well as it used to last year. We're running it back in Vegas because we need to make as much money as possible. And Vince McMahon cared about the fans. We don't care about the fans. We only care about the bottom line. And it just makes you think, with all this publicly out there, and again, the new report out there is Triple H is feuding with the TKO brass. To be creative is not happy about the fact that Ari, reportedly put his foot down and said, I want Pat McAfee involved in this Randy Orton Cody Rhodes feud for the Undisputed Championship. I'm not saying that it was initially a work. What I am saying is, as Ken Carmen, a local Cleveland sports radio host, would say, is don't get worked into a shoot. I think we might be getting worked into a shoot here with this WWE TKO potential storyline, because WWE is doing what WWE always does. They take a real life situation, they fabricate it a little bit, they make you believe it's a shoot, they get the internet all worked up, and it turns out it's a work shoot, if you will. And we could get this power struggle between Triple H and TKO and who is really the top dogs in WWE. Because as I've been saying for months now, and I know this is repetitive, and I'm sorry for those of you that have heard this out of my mouth before. You have the likes of LA Knight, Penta, Logan Paul, Bronson Reed. Oh, you have a Braun Breaker in there. Javon Evans, Oba Femi. All these guys that we see potential in that we think could be a future world or WWE champion. But when you have Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, Gunther, and then you just go to the women's side. Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Stephanie Valkyrie, Charlotte Flair. I said Tiffany Stratton. WWE had to put Charlotte Flair in the tag team division because they're trying to make new stars. They didn't know what else to do with Charlotte. And you have all these men and women with all this potential, all this main event star power. There's only one spot, or in the case of WrestleMania or SummerSlam, two spots. And with all this sort of log jam at the top of the card and the stories that we do want to tell eventually down the road, whether it's 6 months or a year from now, it's hard to put a championship on someone when the top of the card is just so loaded. And maybe that's what this storyline could turn into. Is CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton, these veterans, taking the top spot from the guys of Gunther, from the guys of Braun Breaker. We can't even get a main event at WrestleMania, even though Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar is worth the main event of one of the nights of WrestleMania because CM Punk and Roman Reigns. I mean, you can't do a show where CM Punk and Roman Reigns on the card. It doesn't main event. So, and listen, I've been a defender of Triple H. I admit I've been a defender of Vince. I am mostly a defender of the WWE product. I've been for the worst. I've been for 2019 Vince McMahon. It wasn't the greatest. I try to look at it from glass half full, if you will, and try to take the WWE approach of what they're thinking in terms of storylines from every situation. I defended The Rock implementing himself between The Rock and Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40 because everybody wants to see The Rock versus Roman Reigns. What they turned it into was absolute box office and maybe one of the best heel characters of all time, believe it or not, in the final boss of TikTok. Follow me at real_P World because I am the final boss of TikTok. But yeah, WrestleMania 40 did feel like a point. And listen, every company is going to go for ups and downs. But I said this the other day. For some reason, wrestling fans in the IWC, and this is where I think the Pat McAfee storyline, there is legitimacy to it, is you either like something or you hate it. And when you have it in your mind that you like or hate something, it's very hard to change your mind. For some reason, it seems like to me, WWE and AEW fans, whether they watch both products or one, are not happy with the other. They can never be happy with what WWE is doing on one side and what AEW is doing on another. It's always AEW sucks, WWE is the best, or AEW is the best and WWE sucks. When in reality, both television products are doing um what they are meant to do, which is entertain the people to the masses. And there's been a lot of critics on this WrestleMania 42 build, and I get it. It was rocky from the beginning. And you look at the Royal Rumble, when Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble, we all said, is it going to be Roman Cody free or is it going to be Roman Punk? How about when Liv Morgan won the Royal Rumble? We all thought, oh, Raquel is going to take the title. They're going to do the Judgment Day breakup. It's going to be Liv and Raquel. Nobody ever thought it was going to be Liv Morgan and Stephanie Valkyrie, and that's the match that they were going to go with. How about the WWE Championship? Drew McIntyre won the title. Then we thought, okay, could they do Drew, Cody, Jacob at Elimination Chamber? Could they do it at WrestleMania? What did they do a Fatal 4-Way with Cody, Jacob, Drew, Randy? What did they do a six-pack challenge and included Trick Williams and Sami Zayn? Guess what? They got three matches out of it. Sami Zayn, Trick Williams, Drew McIntyre, Jacob Fatu, Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton. And this whole notion that WrestleMania is supposed to be predictable, we're supposed to know the entire card by the Royal Rumble. That's not always true. And so This has been a bumpy road to WrestleMania. It's an unusual build to the road to WrestleMania. But if WrestleMania 42 delivers, it will all be worth it in the end. But I am interested to see. And again, we went through John Brennan's world. We talked about all the developments of Vince McMahon, all the way back to when Vince was ousted in 2022. Stephanie and Nick Khan were named co-CEOs. Remember that tweet, July 25th, 2022. Time for me to retire. Here we are 4 years later, and we're still talking about Vince McMahon's involvement, getting back in the company, selling it to TKO, the Janaya grant. Who knows what's going to come up with that situation, the Brock Lesnar situation. A lot of people have strong feelings on it. I don't mean to sound like the Philadelphia 76ers, but I think the bottom line is here. We all need to trust the process. And this could be a storyline, it may not. And for all we know, Triple H could be fired from TKO and WWE, and we could have a new head of creative within the next year. It's a wild time to be a wrestling fan. It's a wild time to be on the internet as a wrestling fan. That's why we as wrestling fans should go by simple rules. Speculate wildly, have fun while watching the product. At the end of the day, never take this too seriously. The funniest thing I've heard this week was WWE never has celebrity involvement. Mr. T main event of the first WrestleMania. Floyd Mayweather was involved in a match. Snooki was involved in a match. That's just when I was a child. Donald Trump versus Vince McMahon in the Battle of the Billionaires of WrestleMania 23. Uh, Johnny Knoxville, Sami Zayn, WrestleMania 38. Yeah, WWE's never, ever had any celebrity involvement till this year. I know. That's what everybody says on the internet, because whatever's on the internet has to be true, right? You get my drift. I personally have enjoyed this road to WrestleMania. I've enjoyed WWE this whole calendar year. I know my debate partner over championship rings, Josh Unger, completely disagrees. He's on the AEW train, and I've told him on and off the air. That's okay. You like AEW, I like WWE. They've never been two separate products. But this TKO, Triple H, the constant Vince McMahon references, oh, I'm eating it up right now. Punk's promo on Raw, absolute fantastic. That's what you want. You want us to think it's a shoot. Is it a work? We don't know. That's what makes the best television, ultimately. Like that clip from the Brand's World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brand's World podcast right here on YouTube.